Hi, today's video will be a little bit different. I want to talk about some of the testing tools that I'm using and the ones that I'm planning on using. One of the issues that I have as a teacher is that I'm trying to do group sets, and that can get very expensive. For single people working just on, okay, in particular, look, we're talking about the battery testing. For people doing one test at a time, then there's a neat bit of equipment called the EBD USB. EBD USB. I will link everything down below. And that tester provides you the ability to have a wonderful graph, a data logger, a constant current test, everything you want. And it does a really good job. The problem is, of course, that is expensive on a one-off, to have each student have a power supply, and that the testing unit is about $25–30, but you also need to have a computer that it can run on because that it uses the computer for data logging and for graphing. Great piece of kit, but probably too expensive for most teachers trying to buy a class set. Now, I have been using in the batteries, I've actually been using other batteries to charge it, and that gets expensive because you're buying new batteries all the time. I found a nice little bit of equipment, and that's this. This is called a DC-DC step-down power supply, adjustable module. Right now it's for sale for about $7, $7 to $10 each, which is a whole lot better. And if you buy more, then it gets down to about $5 and things like that. So if you have a class set of 20, you get a better price. It has two buttons on it, and the buttons do the voltage up and down. It will report on the screen, it reports the voltage that it's putting out as well as the amperes that it's putting out, which is great. It does not come with these wires. I added these wires. Comes with a little kit. It comes disassembled in that you have to put this plexiglass stuff together. Takes a few minutes. I had a little problem with the screws. I had to use a different screw. Whoop-de-doo, at $5 each, that was reasonable to me. I'm feeding into this a unit. I'm feeding into this a 12 volt 2 ampere power adapter. I chose this very specifically. I chose 12 volt and 2 amps because I want to possibly also use this for the for creating graphene using saltwater electrolysis. We'll see, but I wanted to have the amperage and the 12 volts. 12 volts is great with this guy because it gives you the right thing. This came with this little adapter, which is really nice. I didn't have to strip anything, and I still have the ability to plug in and out, which is great. These power supplies are on sale right now for $3.29 at Banggood. Great little power supply, nothing big, just a wall wart, but great price, and that is supposedly a 50% off sale, but you can usually find them for $5 or less. So a 12 volt plus this, and you have a nice little supply, power supply, controllable. You can control the thing, and you can see the amperage. Now, one of the problems with all of these pieces of equipment I'm going to show you is that when you're dealing with little tiny batteries, or just getting started like me, you can't always see all of the amperage that you'd like to see. They typically only go down to 0.01 amps or 10 milliamps, and you'd like to go down even further. It's a fine thing though. 10 milliamps is fine, and as your batteries start working, as you get success, then you go on further and you have less of a problem. The next thing is this. This is a little beast. It'll show you the volt and amps that are being used or supplied at any time. This is about $5 as well. Nice little piece of kit, red and blue, nicely visible numbers. The wiring is a little bit strange. It has two thin wires. Those go to the they supply power for this module itself, to power the module. So you can take that off the 12 volt supply that I just showed you, or you can wire in a little 9 volt battery clip. You have options in terms of that. Then you have 3 thick wires. Now the ground goes to ground, goes to ground, goes to ground. Everything goes to ground together. The plus voltage, in our case, would go to the battery under test. This, and so the battery goes across these 2 leads, the big red and the big black leads. That'll give you the battery, and that will give you the voltage on here. Then you need to supply a load, and the load goes across the red for the positive of the load and blue for the negative of the load. That gives you the amperes that your load is drawing. Again, only down to 10 milliamps, but that's just fine. And as you have more success with batteries, then you get stronger and you can have a thing that works. But anyway, nice little unit. You can build it in. You don't have to have people each having their own voltmeter separate thing and trying to deal with leads and switching scales and everything else. The next piece of stuff is simple as this. It's a switch. I have this on a little printed 3D printed plastic. This is called a DP-DT switch. Double pole, double throw. DP-DT. And it is specifically a switch that has on, off, on. So it has 3 distinct settings. Some of them just have 2. And what you can use this switch for is you can hook your battery to be tested up in the middle of the 3. And then on one side you have the charging, and on the other side you have the testing. So it gives you the ability to charge, 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 and then test, 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 test. Nice, easy way to switch from one thing to the other, as opposed to switching your cables around. So I intend to make a little testing board with this equipment mounted on it, and then the leads that come out to the students are just are plug into the battery, and then you can go charge, 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 test, 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 test. Quick, easy, very nice to use. The next thing that you may find interesting is this little guy, and this is just a little propeller. It is really nice for people to see the propeller going. This little motor is actually from a tiny little quadcopter from Cheerson, and you can buy those motors separately. So the motor's about $3, and you can buy it separately, but it doesn't come with a propeller. For the propellers, you can get 40 of the little propellers for about $5. So then you have a full set, a full thing, and because I like showing something actually happening and having a nice little propeller spinning. You can also use LEDs. Those work just fine as well. They still let the students see what is going on. So, fun little pieces of equipment. This time, not so much handmade, but fun little pieces that are suitable for classroom use and for battery testing use. Thanks a lot.